So I'm here with Richard McGinnis. How should we title you? Founder? President?
Definitely not CEO. Promoter, I suppose.
Okay, so promoter of Chibuku, legendary night, celebrating 10 years this month. So, just want to ask you really, tell us about the humble early days of Chibuku.
I suppose the early days has got to be, the Lemon Lounge was sort of a little room above the pub. It was the Black Horse and Rainbow in those days, I think, really, and it was just sort of a gang of mates getting together, have a party, 40 quid was what it cost to hire the room. That's what we spent on tracing paper flyers, and it was text messages and that kind of thing, and it was strictly word of mouth.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was the vibe. 150 people at the first one. Next thing you know, the next one sold out. I was doing a bit of work for Cream at the time, and I'd been living in the city since 1995, 96. So we sort of found our feet by then. Then it just started to kick off. So, it was a very raw atmosphere. Not a great sound system, but the atmosphere and the vibe in there was amazing. So that's really, was the spark of the embryo of what will later became Chibuku as you know it now, really.
And so if we fast forward now 10 years later, tell us about the night on the 13th and the kind of party for people to expect.
The 10th birthday sort of it's taken us quite a bit of time to work on. We sort of wanted to have something that would represent the history of the club. So there's a strong French element in there with all the guys from Paris. So you've got Justice, Busy P, who's an old friend of ours, Pedro Winter, who used to manage Daft Punk. Also the guys from Cassius, who a lot of their records were big records at the club throughout the 10 years. And obviously DJ Mehdi, who's probably technically one of the best DJs out of that gang. And they're just going to come and DJ and play all night back to back, and it's going to be a party. That's their thing. Other aspects of the club over the years obviously we've always had turntablists, from the Scratch Brothers to Qbert to DJ Shadow. They've all played. So there was one guy remaining we had to get, and that was from the Invisible Scratch Pickles, was Mixmaster Mike. So we finally managed to pick him up. Obviously Future Bound, local drum and bass hero, he's there playing, but also we've got two of the biggest shining lights in dubstep. We've got Scream and Casper, who are both playing alongside Chase and Status, who have sort of crossed out of that sort of dubstep, hip-hop sort of drum and bass thing into sort of the pop world. They're sort of producing for people like Rihanna and things like that now. So that's that, but then there's always been this sort of the house and techno element throughout. So we've got a really nice mix in the courtyard of Joris Vorn, who's sort of the up-and-coming guy at the moment. He played at our Cocoon Party in December, which was amazing. Sort of pitting him on at sort of 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning is amazing because of the energy in his music. Alongside Club and Stroke, who's been playing for us for a while, and also Adam Bayer, who's not only the tallest man in techno, but definitely one of the biggest names to come out of Europe in the past sort of 5 to 10 years. So that's the lineup in a whole, but I think it touches all the bases of the musical sort of boundaries that we've been pushing for the past 10 years, really, and we're really happy with it. And it's going to be an incredible party.
Tell us about some of the key memories or stuff that sort of stood out over the years.
I think really, I've said it in all the interviews, I think, but it's got to be said is the time that John Peel came to play. And the bizarre thing was at the time that we had the option of booking Chaz and Dave, and bizarrely John Peel came in at the same time. But the thing was that John Peel wanted quite a bit of money, and Chaz and Dave came in on budget. And we had this conundrum in the office of, do we book Chaz and Dave or do we book John Peel? And then because John's daughter was at the club, was obviously a regular at the club, but also was in Liverpool at university at the time, he decided just to give her the money from the gig towards her cost of living or whatever, and he decided to drop the fee and whatever, and then thus occurred one of the most amazing gigs that we've ever had and will ever likely to have. On a similar note, something we did recently was reggae legend David Rodigan played about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and out of the 10 years, again, very, very important thing for us to have happened. This is a guy who in the late 70s went to Jamaica and challenged the Jamaican sound systems on their own turf to a sound clash and won. And he didn't just win once. he wins every time.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is sort of, looks like he should be a librarian, but he plays reggae in a manner which, until you see it, you won't believe it.
Yeah.
So Chibuku's always been about those performers, the people like, Rusko in the dubstep world, Marky in the drum bass world, and people like David Rodigan, who can play records with energy and passion that can cross boundaries and create a different kind of party. So, those are, that alongside, obviously there's Ian Brown, there's so many moments that we could pick out really, but those are key ones for me really.
So, because all of that really is about maintaining a fresh night, isn't it?
Yeah.
And keeping, raw talent, and it's not just about the young guns, but it's about, legends.
Yeah.
How have you maintained that freshness?
Just, I think, really by copying other people. No, I mean, there's, the great thing about music is there's so much of it out there that you've never heard, and with the advancement in technology now, you can listen to whatever you want, whenever you want, as quickly as you want, and you can buy it, or you can get on Spotify, or you can whatever. Do you know what I mean? So, as what you find with kids these days is the way that they listen to music and their accessibility to music has totally changed. 10 years ago, people were in Probe Records hunting for one piece of vinyl just to hear the track, to then have to pay 15 quid to buy it. So now it's quite easy for us to research music and to play music and to expose yourself to it, but also with the web you can explore cultures, you can see what's working in other parts of the world, you can see how the music's been presented in what context, you can test bits of it out, you can hear the latest producer, the oldest producer within seconds. So it's about building knowledge within each genre, about understanding it and making sure that you book and present it in a manner which is respectful to the genre really. And also it's about finding people like David Rodigan, it's about finding DJs like Rusko, it's about finding those people who are performers within their own right, who will, if they played hip hop, they'd still be great. Do you know what I mean? They're just very, very passionate about music. So that's it really. I think we still listen to music 24 hours a day, and that's never changed. And I think people have always compared us to other clubs and other people who have had done 10 years or whatever. People always say, well, when you hit 10 years, it'll all change and and that's one thing, but we never changed our ethos, and that was that the music was selected the crowd, and as long
for music.
Exactly. And we've never really got too carried away with ourselves in terms of how big we wanted it to be, or how small, or how far we were going to take it, or selling T-shirts or mugs, or it was just like, this is the party. That's it. Take it or leave it. Do you know what I mean? So that, I think that's been an important thing, really.
Chibuku's been a supporter of Calm over the years, and it's our 10th anniversary as well. Just give us a bit of a feel for why Chibuku's passionate about Calm and supporting it.
I think there's a strong parallel between music and escapism, and a strong parallel between people who are escaping from what their problems are and what's in front of them. And through the club we've seen a lot of kids come through who we thought, they need someone to speak to, or they should be definitely getting exposed to somewhere where they know they can lift the phone to somebody. There's definitely been a few occasions throughout the 10 years that there have been kids that have committed suicide, have got clinically depressed, that have been close to us and close to the family, the network of the club, which is not necessarily due to clubbing or the aspects of it, but more to do with issues and life will always throw up those things that you can't handle. And the young men, I think in particular, is that they're depending on the relationships with their families or the people that are around them, they don't necessarily understand that they can just lift the phone to someone, or that there's another way out, and the bottling and things up and sort of really going out and trying to forget about things isn't necessarily the answer. So I think through the work we've always done with you guys is that making sure there's a strong presence there, that whether it's a boy or a girl or whoever it is, it doesn't really make any difference. I mean, obviously it's about putting that message out there that being silent isn't strong. So that's it really.
Well, we very much appreciate it. We wish you all the best with
10 years. Hopefully for both of us.
Absolutely, let's hope so. And have a cracking night on the 13th.
I will do. I'll see you there.
All right, thanks, man.
Take it easy.